Premier Doug Ford and his new cabinet are going to be sworn in a couple of days' time, just about 3 weeks after winning a second and stronger majority government. Jessica Smith-Cross is the editor-in-chief for iPolitics and QP Briefing. Joins us now live via Skype to talk more about this as we take a look at who could be in the cabinet, how big the cabinet may be, and just sort of what's going into this. Jessica, thanks for being here. Doug Ford kind of gave an impromptu scrum at Queen's Park yesterday, dropping a few hints. What did you take from his remarks yesterday?
One of the neat things that we learned is that he actually hasn't made his calls yet. So there should be MPPs and current cabinet ministers maybe sitting by their phone today to see what their fate is. He also said he won't be splitting up the health ministry into under two different ministers, which was something that folks thought he might be doing.
Jessica, are there any sort of slam dunk return ministers, like definitely this minister is coming back into the portfolio they had? Is that the sense you're getting? Or do you feel like it's completely, Doug Ford is going to reassess everything, take another look at his team and decide, you know what, maybe Stephen Lecce shouldn't perhaps be in education. Maybe he is more better served over here. What are you hearing on that side of things?
My understanding is that there will be a lot of consistency. That is the smart thing to do. I would be incredibly surprised, for instance, if Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy was moved around, but things could happen. Same goes for Minister Lecce, as you mentioned. I expect he'll stay in the education portfolio, but I could be wrong about that. Now, the big hole that Ford has to fill is the health ministry, as it didn't run again.
And speaking of that, he also sort of let the cat out of the bag yesterday that he's been speaking with former Health Minister Christine Elliott about who a suitable replacement may be for him, which apparently came to a surprise to Doug Ford's office yesterday. Not sure what that necessarily says, but the fact that he's sort of talking to Christine Elliott about this, what does that say to you? And who were Christine Elliott's sort of allies or people you think that Christine Elliott perhaps may be tapping on the shoulder and saying that might be a good replacement?
I think the most valuable piece of advice that she could give the Premier and why he might have wanted to speak to her is that she understands what the job depends more than anyone else. She could tell him about what she has planned, what needs to be continued, and what kind of person would do well in the role.
Okay, the other thing that we've heard a lot about, of course, Doug Ford's going back to Queen's Park with an 83-person caucus, the bigger majority than last time as well, and more seats. Of course, at dissolution, they were just down to 67. That suggests to some observers that we may be seeing a bigger cabinet as well. What are your thoughts here? Do you expect that we're going to see perhaps 2 or 3 more sort of ministers and ministries when this all gets announced in a couple of days' time?
I wouldn't be surprised if it is a big cabinet. There are a couple of reasons for that. One is it's really hard to take somebody out of cabinet once you put them in. I think that may happen, but it's tricky, and it can lead to disaffected people within your own party, which can be a big political headache for you. Secondly, he will want to bring in some of the newly elected members. He's got a larger, more diverse caucus. They've won in some areas where they hadn't won before, and he'd want to sort of reward that and solidify that with the cabinet post.
Okay, so it's been 3 weeks since we heard the only Doug can get it done ad. So, Jessica, I'm wondering kind of what tone you expect we're going to hear from the Premier come Friday morning when he introduces the cabinet to the province, and we sort of hear from, pretty much the team for the first time since then.
I'd say magnanimous. After winning, you can be, and he will be, the Premier for all Ontario. I'm sure that he'll say something to that effect. We saw this even yesterday with his brief comments in the hallway. He's optimistic, he's happy, he's celebrating, and he's not going to be, I don't expect to see that sort of belligerent side of Doug Ford. I don't expect to see any anger or some picking fights or anything that you might see when the Premier's under stress.
Okay, we'll be watching that Friday. We'll have live coverage here on CP24 starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. Jessica Smith-Cross, in the meantime, editor-in-chief for iPolitics and QP Briefing. Always great to talk to you about Queen's Park. Thanks for joining us again this morning.
Thanks.